Right, good afternoon, everybody. Chris Birch here from Spark Crowdfunding. Welcome to our webinar 16 today, and thank you very much for joining us. We've got a packed program today. We've got three companies that are going to be doing a very quick presentation to you, and we'll have questions and answers, of course, as we always do. You'll be able to put your questions into the Q&A. Please don't put them into the chat. We can sift through them a lot more easily if you put them into the Q&A. So if you could do that, that'd be great. We've had a very few busy weeks, as you've probably or possibly seen on our site. We've had a number of companies go live, and we'll be showcasing a couple of those today, of course. We've had some great activity, both on the investor registrations and actual investments themselves. Just over in the last 30 days, we've raised 2.1 million for the companies that have been on our site, and we've had 700 investors kind of contribute to that. We've got 140 odd people registered for the webinar today, so welcome if it's your first one, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. And as always, we'll have the session put onto our YouTube channel, and I'll be sending a link around to all the people who've registered. So hopefully you'll see that there as well. We've got a very busy pipeline coming through over the next couple of weeks. One of whom is going to be presenting today. That's Jenny from FitPink. And as you know, we curate, we handpick a lot of all of the businesses that go onto the site. So we're very selective as to who goes up onto the site. They are high growth Irish companies that we are very happy to put there and to showcase. We're very selective. All of the companies, or certainly most of them, but certainly all of the companies that are on live and going to be live in the next short while are all EIS companies, which means that you as an investor will get 40% back on your investment through the revenue rebate system. So that de-risks your investment significantly, obviously. And you'll be able to get that in due course as well. So we've got two live on the platform that are going to be showcasing today, and one coming soon, which, as I say, is Jenny, and I'll introduce you to all of them in a minute. We've got Tesenda, which is closing in the next couple of days. Tesenda's done an amazing job, and is well overfunded at the moment, but is still accepting funds if you want to have a look at that. ASX, we closed just after only 24 hours of being live on the site, and we raised 600,000 for ASX in a very, very short period of time, and we were delighted with that, of course. With regards to the EIS, just as I just mentioned, which is obviously you get your 40% back, but also investors pay no commission as well, unlike some of the other EIS funds that you might see over the time. But anyway, enough of Spark. What I would like to do is to introduce you to, if everyone can just switch on their cameras, please. First of all, we'll be having Charlie from Zipp Mobility having a chat with us. We'll then go on to John from Bowsy, and then we'll be talking to Jenny from FitPink. But first of all, a bit about Charlie. Charlie is the Nova UCD Founder of the Year 2021. He was listed in the Irish Independent 30 under 30 recently. He's a BCom graduate from UCD and previously worked in asset management and capital finance. He's a golfer and a surfer, and so far has raised over 500,000 on the site so far, and has a number 10 days, I think, left, 9 days to go, I think, Charlie, on the site. But anyway, I'll let him talk a little bit more about that, and I'll introduce you properly to the other two in a few minutes. So John and Jenny, if you'd like to switch your cameras off, Charlie, if you'd like to share your screen, and we'll get going. So 10 minutes of presentation and followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. Charlie, away you go. You're on mute, Charlie. Charlie, you're on mute.
There you go. Sorry about that.
There we go.
You'd think we'd all be used to Zoom by now, so sorry about that. But look, thanks a million for the introduction, Chris, and thanks a million for everyone for taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Really excited to tell you a little bit more about Zipp, and should get through this in around 10 minutes, if that's okay. Sorry. Apologies here. So look, I'll just start off now. So look, the problem that we're trying to solve is both congestion and carbon emissions, okay? So 40% of car journeys are less than 2 miles and in our eyes are therefore avoidable. From a carbon emissions perspective, urban mobility accounts for 40% of all CO2 emissions of road transport. Now, both of these problems are caused by what's known as the last mile problem. Now, in this context, the last mile problem is the difficulty of getting people to and from public transport links, and as well as any other journey between, say, 1 and 5 kilometers. So Zipp Mobility can solve this problem. Zipp is a Dublin-based scooter sharing company currently operating across the UK. Zipp provides a quick and convenient way for people to get to and from these public transport links without the burden of their own vehicle. So the way the service works is really simple. You just download the app, locate your nearest scooter using the app, and then you scan the QR code located on the scooter and ride to your destination. So far, we've had almost actually 70,000 journeys now in the last 5.5 months. We've replaced around 12,000 car journeys and avoided around 9 tons of carbon emissions from entering the atmosphere. So there's plenty of competition in the market. The scooter sharing started on the west coast of America with companies like Bird and Lime. And there's also some European competition as well, such as Tier, Voi, and Dot. And some of these companies are very well funded. And I think the first question that people normally ask is, how are you going to compete? How are you going to compete with such well-funded companies? And I think the important thing to note is we have competed and we have beaten these competitors. So in the UK, we consecutively beat 15 other scooter sharing companies to secure 3 licenses to operate our service. Just for context, one of the other competitors had 30 million to enter the UK market, where we had a mere 300,000, and we stand up quite well against them. We also have a larger market share than Bird, who were the fastest ever company to reach unicorn status with a valuation of over 2 billion. So, it really shows that we've done something different. And I think the next question is, how? How have we beaten these people, or how have we had such success in the UK? And it's all down to our mission of mobility done right. And this is where we've devised solutions to the industry's biggest problems. So as I said, scooter sharing started out in 2017. We came to the market in around 2019 to solve the current problems that exist in scooter sharing schemes, which I'll take you through one by one now. So the first problem that we're trying to solve is the issues the issues with gig economy workers in the scooter sharing industry. So this is where a lot of our competitors use independent contractors to go out, collect the scooters, bring them back to their homes, charge them overnight, and redistribute them the next day. So this allows these companies to scale very quickly, but leads to a massive cash burn, rendering all of these companies heavily loss-making. The councils also don't really like it because there's no economic certainty and there's no employment rights associated with gig workers in most countries. So what do we do differently? Well, we employ full-time staff operating out of a centralized charging model or out of a centralized charging hub, and we also have swappable batteries. So this is where we have one centralized unit where we have full-time staff to go out, collect the scooters and redistribute them. As well as that, instead of bringing the scooters back to the warehouse, charging them overnight and redistributing them the next day, we can simply go out to the scooters on the streets and replace the dead battery packs. So this is much leaner, it's much greener, it's much more ethical. We also have electric vans to charge and redistribute the scooters, again, pushing towards carbon neutrality. The next problem that we're trying to solve is vehicle littering. So most other scooter sharing companies require you to pick up and drop off your scooters, or allow you to pick up and drop off your scooters anywhere. So this is great for the user, but it's not great for the local authorities. It's not great for, as it causes trip hazards in the towns and cities in which we operate. And it also, it particularly affects people with visual impairments or people, elderly people. So what we do differently is we use GPS technology to ensure that all of our journeys start and end in their designated parking bays, which are dotted all over the towns and cities. And we increase this on a weekly basis, regardless of the number of bays that we have, always increasing this number and always making the scooters more accessible in a very controlled manner. The next thing that we are trying to solve is the lack of control that the local authorities have. So a lot of scooter sharing companies are trying to scale into 50 to 100 markets per year. So, the VCs might be happy with this, but it doesn't last very long. These companies are growing at a rate that they can't give the local authorities the time they need to ensure a successful rollout of this new technology. And this is really, really important. The reason it's really, really important is because we've seen scooter sharing companies enter a market asking for forgiveness rather than permission, And if you're not getting the buy-in from the local authority before you actually launch a service, or if you scale too quickly into a market, it can often actually end up with the scheme being retracted. So we go into a market and grow into that market very sustainably, sneak the scooters into the market, as we like to say, to keep everyone happy and make sure we get buy-in from the local authority and grow accordingly. And now the last thing is rider safety. We believe that we're the safest scooter sharing operator in the world, and we do this by operating the safest scooters in the world. First of all, we have reduced operating hours in the evening, so we don't want people coming out of coppers on these things. So we turn them off at 10:30 at night. We've got slow speed zones in areas of high footfall, and we also have restricted zones where there is, high likelihood of an accident or a particularly unsafe area. We actually restrict the scooters from entering that area. We also carry out roadworthiness testing every single time a battery is swapped. So every 2 days, we do rigorous roadworthiness testing on each of the scooters. So looking at our progress to date, we've done over nearly 70,000 journeys now, generating over £185,000 in revenue. We've 25,000 active users. We've raised over $1 million, 1.5 million now if you include the Spark crowdfunding, and we've grown our team to almost 20 people with 17 full-time staff. And that's just in the last 5.5 months. So where are we going next? We've got a good position in the UK, but now it's about looking forward. And I think what we're trying to do is, first of all, build a leading position in Ireland and the UK. E-scooter legislation is coming on track this summer here in Ireland, and the UK, obviously, we've had some pretty good success so far. We launched another scheme in the UK on Monday, and we're launching another one in 2 weeks' time. In Poland, and then outside of that, we want to grow into mainland Europe, so Poland and Portugal. We've secured multiple licenses to launch our service across Poland, which we're launching in July. And as well as that, we're in advanced discussions with many local authorities in Portugal, where I'm based right now. So I think the big question is, okay, Ireland and the UK, Zipp will probably have a strong presence there, but what about the markets further afield? How are they going to compete in countries like Poland and Portugal? Well, in Europe, we're going after fundamentally different markets to our competitors. If you look at the average market size of a scooter sharing scheme, it ranges between 600,000 and 2 million people in population. Our average market size is closer to 300,000 people. And you probably ask why. Why would you go after much smaller markets than your competitors? Well, there's 260 million people living in European cities, and there's only 89 cities with over 500,000 people. Yet there's 930 cities in Europe with less than 500,000 people. So as you can see, this market here is much bigger, and it's also much less competitive. The next natural question is, well, okay, that sounds great, but how are you going to be profitable in these markets? Well, it's all down to our business model. I spoke about our centralized charging. I spoke about our swappable batteries. I spoke about our sustainable growth model. I spoke about our virtual docked model. And all of these things contribute to stronger unit economics and earlier profitability. So our average market size, we require less demand, and we can be profitable in smaller markets. So looking at the financial summary, obviously this is a public forum, so we've held back some of the numbers, but just let's base it on number of scooters. It's probably the best way to go. Last year, we launched 325 scooters. This year, we plan to launch almost 2,000 scooters. Next year, 3,000 to 4,000. And in 2023, around 7,500 scooters, generating expected revenues of around 30 million euro. So looking at the team, Chris gave me a good introduction, so I don't need to do that again. But looking at the rest of the team, if you look at our growth team, our head of European expansion is Rui Paiva. Rui previously led the expansion for Hive, which was FreeNow's scooter sharing company. Rui previously led the launch of 20,000 scooters across mainland Europe. He's got excellent expertise. He's got a few years in industry experience under his belt, but he also has great connections across mainland Europe as well. Then our CFO is Brian Maguire. Brian was previously the CFO of a large Irish family investment fund, and was also the CFO of a large handheld technology company. But also, as well as that, has raised a lot of money for early stage startups, especially in Nova UCD, raising in excess of 10 million for funding for startups in the last few years. Then looking at our operations, our UK operations are led by David Maloney. David previously spent 23 years in IBM in business development and technology. There's lots of other people there I wish I could talk about, but we don't really have time. So we've also got some pretty strong advisors, from industry experts to serial entrepreneurs, to, government affairs experts, corporate finance experts, and also smart city expertise as well. And we meet with all of these on a very regular basis. So looking at our funding requirements, we're now raising an additional €1 million to execute on the next 3 criteria, which is to lead the Irish market, expand our current licenses into additional areas in the UK, and launch in 2 more European countries. And we're on track for achieving all of that in the next few months. So looking at the investment terms, we're raising 1 million at an 8 million pre-money valuation. It says here that 120,000 has been raised, but that's actually closer to 510,000 now. And we've also got 2 million in asset-backed finance. And as Chris said, we've got the EIS as well under our belt, which is great. There's also likely exit opportunities. So as you can see, acquisitions have been rampant in the industry, with Uber acquiring Jump, Bird acquiring Scoot. We've seen Ford Motor Group acquire Spin, and many, many more acquisitions. So consolidation is happening. It's prevalent and it's accelerating. So really excited. I would imagine that that's going to take place in about 3 or 4 or 4 to 5 years, I'd imagine. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and I now open the floor to any questions. Thanks very much.
Charlie, thank you very much indeed. A couple of questions are already in the Q&A box. So guys, if you've got any questions for Charlie or any of the other panelists, please do enter them there. So first question, and Fergal's going to be joining us as well, I think. I'm not sure whether his mic is operational, but anyway, Fergal, if you'd like to switch on and test yours as well, that'd be great. Okay, first question though. Is there room for many competitors in this space? Obviously, we know that there are a number across Europe, Charlie, and there's even some from the States that are looking at the Dublin license that is going to be coming through soon. What's your position around that?
Yeah, there was a lot of competition in the UK, and we did very well, and we grew our market share, and that was in a market that's probably one of the most difficult to get into, based on the procurement processes. And every local authority had to go through their own procurement process, which isn't really the case across Europe. But I suppose, is there space? There absolutely is space. Yeah, and with these licenses that you win these licenses with exclusivity. So every market we operate in right now, we actually have exclusive licenses. So there's no one else in these markets, which creates barriers to entries in itself. So the nature of the business, there is IP in the licenses that you're winning, as long as you can keep the local authorities happy, and our approach definitely does that. I think another really important thing to note is, it seems like there's a lot of competition, absolutely, but we're in year 3 of what is a 100-year industry, which is shared micromobility. We although there are some existing competitors, we're very, very early, and there's huge areas that have no scooter sharing. So if you look at, say, somewhere like Germany, there's over 40 cities in Germany with scooter sharing schemes. If you look at somewhere like Portugal, where we're going after, there's probably 3. And there's still a huge amount of land to be taken, and there's areas like Ireland that haven't even opened up yet. So yeah, and Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, all of these locations where we're really well positioned don't even have scooters yet. So absolutely, there's room to grow.
Very good. In terms of the Irish market, have you formal tendering processes for the license started? What's the situation regarding the legislation in Ireland? So legislation is changing very soon. So we've got our government affairs team and the government affairs advisors that have been all over this for months. We've been building these relationships for 2 years now. So have great relationships with all the local authorities in which we want to launch. Actual legislation, so it was actually included in the summer legislative program only a few weeks ago. It's gone through 2 rounds of pre-legislative scrutiny as well. So yeah, it looks very likely that its legislation will be changing this summer. Has the procurement process started? Yes, it has. So there's been RFIs, so essentially pre-tender RFIs have come out for one local authority, which was Fingal. We submitted an application a couple of months ago. Dublin City Council are doing the same, and they've informed us that they will. I know of many other local authorities that would like to trial and are definitely open to launching scooter sharing schemes when the legislation changes. So right now we're kind of building relationships and talking to local authorities about why e-scooters, and then closer to time it'll be more why Zipp. Question also coming in around the safety of pedestrians and footpath travel and things like that. So how are you looking to overcome some of those issues?
Yeah, so I think rider education is extremely important when it comes to safety. So if we're talking about like where scooters are permitted, it's actually illegal in the UK for scooters to be ridden on the footpath. So, you know, once that level of education is out there, which the local authorities always push out in press releases and also general information. So that's a big thing. But, you know, even outside of the legislation, we're always trying to improve and always trying to I suppose, trial new technologies to ensure our service is as safe as possible. One example of this is our partnership with Luna Systems, which featured in the deck. Luna Systems provides centimeter level positioning technology for scooter sharing and machine vision. So it means that if someone starts to ride on a footpath, it's actually detected and the scooter will stop or will slow down. So, you know, this technology is early stage, but we're always trying new tech to kind of make sure our service is as safe as possible.
Very good. Loads of questions in here, Charlie, but we're only going to have chance for another one or two. How are you fully dealing with the last kilometre problem if you're putting them in parking bays? I mean, you spoke about the parking bays and they were painted on the street there. How ubiquitous are those going to be, Charlie?
Yeah, so I think it's a good question. I think when we were launching, you know, we could have went with dockless and you're solving 100% of that last mile problem. But you know that takes the user into account. It doesn't take into other pedestrians and the local authority. It's not mobility done right that I spoke about, and it's definitely not the future. You know, it's in time. There's going to be parking requirements for you know every local authority, every country, I would imagine. So how are we dealing with this? Is you know we're increasing the number of parking bays on a weekly basis. So, you know, our guys on the ground are constantly talking to the local authorities to get approval for additional bays, with the goal of having a bay at the top of every housing estate. The way we look at it is if you've got a bay within, you know, half a kilometre, people will use the scooter. If you don't have a bay within half of the kilometre, people won't use the scooter. And that's what the most recent research shows. So that's our goal, to have a parking bay within, you know, 500 metres of every location in the city. So it's obviously, you know, it takes a bit of time. But again, it's building the relationships with the local authorities and doing things right.
Very good. Listen, Charlie, there's loads of questions here. And again, what we will do is answer those in written format and put them onto the site. But we have to move on to the next one. So, Charlie, thank you very much indeed for all of that. And John, if I can ask you to open up your camera, if you can, please. So thank you very much, John, for joining us today. John is CEO of Bowsy. Bowsy just went live onto the site on Sunday and is already at, I'm struggling to find my numbers here, 70 something percent, is it, John?
78, nearly.
78, yes, thank you very much. So John, oh, sorry, it's right in front of me here. So yes, so lunchtime on Sunday to now, 78%, which is a fantastic job. So Bowsy won the National Irish Startup Awards competition last year, and that's a very great accolade to have won. John himself has been head of Global Innovation, the Global Innovation Centre for BAT in London in his past working jobs, but has also worked in 8 different countries over your career as well. So, but John, less about that and more about Bowsy. So I'll let you share your screen and where you go with your presentation, please.
Great, thank you very much, Chris. And thank you, Charlie, that was a very interesting presentation. You can see the screen okay, Chris?
Can, yes.
Great, okay. So yeah, super excited to be here and have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Bowsy. As Chris mentioned, we went live on Sunday. We've had a fantastic 3 days, getting close to 80%. And we just at the start of our campaign. So I'll tell you a little bit about Bowsy, a quick introduction. Basically, we're trying to change the way employers manage their graduate recruitment, and at the same time reinvent how students, university students, earn a living. So that means taking people who are currently delivering, driving, working in restaurants and bars, and giving them the opportunity to earn a living through kind of remote tasks and project work that's related to their field of study. We're doing this because we've created a new marketplace that connects university students with businesses through remote and study-related work. I'll go into a little bit more detail on the platform. As a little bit of background, we're a client of the High Potential Startup Unit of Enterprise Ireland. We're also a client of Dublin BIC. We're also a member of ISME, and we're based in the Guinness Enterprise Centre. As Chris mentioned, we had a very good finish to the year in December. We ended up with the National Startup Awards as Tech Startup, the winner. We were also named as one of the top 30 early stage startups in Europe by EUStartups.com. And very recently, a couple of months ago, we were the first Irish startup to win the Premier Cup in United States at a pitch event in San Francisco that was sponsored by Enterprise Ireland. And we're now partnering with one of the largest HR tech VCs in the US. A little bit about the team. That's me. I'm one of the CEOs and the co-founders. As Chris mentioned, I spent most of my career in a FTSE 10 company working in innovation. One of the other co-founders is Daniel Lea, who's professor at one of the leading business schools in Madrid, and he's our COO. And we also have Lucas Navicas, who's our head of digital, who's been working on tech startups and for tech companies for the past 10 years. The rest of our core team are all recent graduates coming from universities in Ireland who've been working with us from the past 6 to 12 months. I also mentioned about strategic advisors. We have Roseanne Heavey from Noon Casey working with us as well as one of the strategic advisors. We also, IBM appointed Stuart Martin, who's their partner for HR transformation based in the UK. He's also one of our advisors. And then we have a team of 3 people who are working on the US market, which is one of our key markets going forward. And they're laying the groundwork for our expansion there. And we've got Professor Colin Mitchell, who's professor at RT University in the US, Tiana Morris, who's working at the Washington Center in DC, and we've got Bob Matters, who's one of the senior business developers in Lockheed Martin, who are helping lay the groundwork for us with our US expansion after Ireland and the UK. A little bit about what we're doing. As I mentioned, we're creating a new marketplace. Basically, we're leveraging the technology and the flexibility of the gig economy, but reinventing the nature of work. And if I give you an example of some of the tasks and projects that have been performed on the Bowsy platform, it can be anything from search engine optimization to students preparing a business plan, to doing consumer research, social media management, lead generation. The list of tasks and potential projects is vast and directly relates to the different areas of studies that the students are working on. Every week there's something that new coming along. So it's a huge area and there's a huge opportunity. Nobody's doing this at the moment. We make our money by charging a 20% transaction fee on top of what the student earns. So it's free for the students, it's free for university, and this is a fee that goes to the employer or to the business. And that's at the heart of our business model, as well as also looking at placement fees, etc. But 90% of our business model and our revenue is based on this transaction fee. In terms of the problems that we're trying to solve, I mean, we're trying to reinvent graduate recruitment, which really hasn't changed since the CV was popularized in the 1950s. And if you look at some of the challenges facing businesses, I mean, first of all, it's the high cost of graduate recruitment. Depending on the sources, it goes anywhere from around 5,000 euros plus to recruit a graduate. And actually that cost gets higher, particularly for SMEs. On an average, this is using UK data, SMEs end up spending more money to recruit the graduates. We're also looking at an inefficient and passive approach in the recruitment process. What we mean by inefficient is it relies on a snapshot of the student. It relies on a CV, a resume, an interview, etc. And it's a very one-dimensional view of the student. But we say passive because most of the companies wait for a student to apply to them. So on average, they're only talking to 1 or 2% of the total student population. And those are the students who've already made up their mind that they want to go into a particular industry or apply to a different company. And effectively, they're ignoring the other 98% of the students. So there's a huge opportunity for them to be more proactive in driving a more diverse and inclusive graduate recruitment process. The other big issue is skills gaps of graduates. This is raised a lot, not just at the Irish level, but at the EU level. Also, perhaps the lack of fresh and innovative ideas coming into companies. Limited flexibility of resources. So a lot of companies are reliant on full-time equivalents and putting in contracts and temp, etc. It's a very expensive and very inflexible process. And last, but probably most importantly, we did a survey last year amongst recent Irish graduates, and 89% of the graduates from universities all across Ireland aren't happy with the current graduate recruitment process and want to see some changes. So how does Bowsy kind of address this? And I guess we're creating a win-win solution, and I think there's benefits on the employer side and also on the student side. So the first thing is diversity of talent. I mentioned it earlier on, is that it enables employers to access 100% of the graduate recruitment pool, not just 1 or 2% that actually talk to them. And what they can do is they can actually engage with students on a scale that they couldn't do before and at a cost that's much, much lower. So for example, for the cost of 3 or 4 interns, traditional interns during the summer, they can engage with 70 to 80 students through remote project work on the Bowsy platform. And that leads to an improved recruitment process. So instead of having a one-dimensional snapshot of the student, the employer can actually form a view of the student based on actual observed performance through project work, through tasks, and have a much rounder view of the student and understanding the more qualitative aspects, cultural fit, etc. It's significantly cheaper than traditional recruitment, and also the value of the work performed by the students is significantly cheaper than the market average, sometimes as high as 50%. And then lastly, it provides a huge amount of flexibility and low administration costs. A lot of companies are talking to universities and they want to engage with students, but very often they don't know how to approach it. They have to put contracts in place, employer contributions, etc. Bowsy eliminates all of that. So it gives a completely flexible approach for companies to hire as many or as little students for as long or as little as they want. So it gives a very flexible approach. From the student side, there's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of research in the UK and the US that's showing that students who are lucky enough to work in a field of study that's related to work in a job or part-time job that's related to their field of study are amongst the best academic performers. They go on to have better networks and go on to enjoy better careers. So it actually helps them with their studies. It helps eliminate skills gaps. So when students are actually joining a company, they have practical skills they need. It gives them equal access to opportunities. So it doesn't matter if I'm in County Louth or Tullamore, I don't have to move to Dublin or to Cork or wherever to actually get exposure, to get the experience I need. I can do that remotely. So it creates a level playing field for all the students. And lastly, this is something we discovered. It actually allows students to understand what kind of career they really are going to aspire to, what they're kind of good at, what they enjoy, where they can add value. And it allows them to do that, like through this kind of project work, to really understand what they enjoy, and what they want to pursue in terms of their careers. In terms of traction, we've been around since 9 months. We're now cooperating with the 3 largest universities in Ireland, and we're expanding that all the time. We're engaging with over 50 businesses, and we're doing projects all across Europe, all across 7 different countries at the moment. Our focus is on Ireland and the UK at the moment, but we also have one eye on the US, where we've made some early steps. This is ring fenced from the core of the business. We've been selected to join People Tech Partners, one of the largest HR tech VCs in the US. They're partnering with Udemy, Facebook, SAP, Netflix, etc. And that's taking place towards the end of the year. And the last thing about the US, we have a team already based there. We're engaging with a number of institutes there as well, including the Wharton School of Business. And more recently now, we're working with Tulane University in Louisiana and New Orleans, who are helping us with our launch plan there in the US. A little bit about the platform. It's a one-stop remote working solution. Basically, you've got integrated task management planning tools, secure Amazon web servers, integrated chat and video conferencing, smart algorithms that are matching the student with the company, and we've got secure payment solutions through Stripe. And behind this is a very strong innovation platform looking at the inclusion of psychometrics, additional AI, etc., as we develop the platform over the next couple of years. In terms of the size of the market, we looked at this a couple of ways, and this is work that we did with Noon Casey and also the Dublin BIC to really understand, what is the addressable market size in Europe. And depending how we calculate it, it's between 1.1 and 3 billion euros. In the US, it's around 5 billion euros. So it's a huge marketplace. And when you look at the competition, yes, there are a lot of companies competing in this area, but nobody is doing what Bowsy is doing at the moment. And if you look at our USP, we're the only one that's focused primarily on university students, or only on university students. We're the only company that's focused on study-related tasks and projects and focused on remote work. Nobody else is focused on this. There's a lot of other areas there where we're differentiating ourselves in terms of the technology, also in terms of team-based work, etc. But we've got a very unique and clear USP that nobody is actually performing and fulfilling either here in Europe or in the other markets we looked at in Asia or in the US.
1 minute, John, please.
Okay, just very quickly, key assumptions for the business plan, relatively conservative, but in the context of where we are now, we're looking at 120 companies in our first year after seeding. We're already at 50 companies. We're exiting year 5 with 6,000 companies, and that represents around just over 2% of the total private registered enterprises in Ireland. So that gives you an idea of the scale. But when you look at these assumptions and you look at the revenue that we're generating, you see very quickly year 2, we're making over 2 million euros in revenue. And when we start including other markets, we're looking at year 5 going to around 30 million euros in revenue. And significant margins when you look at the gross margin of over 50%, around 18 million euros in year 5. Very quickly, in terms of the equity and the funding, we're raising 300,000 euros in return for 15.8% equity in the company. That equates to a pre-money valuation of around 1.6. But if you look at the EIS, that actually means you're buying in the value at around 960,000 euros. As you mentioned, we're a client of the high potential startup unit in Enterprise Ireland. And we also look to get matching funding of 300,000 euros, which will bring our total funding to around 600,000 euros. This is our first fundraising exercise, as all the funding has been done internally with the founders to date. And very last, why invest in Bowsy? It's a very unique opportunity to engage at a very early stage with an Irish tech company. We've got very good traction in terms of awards, in terms of SMEs, and also recently in terms of multinational businesses across Europe. We think we're at the right time. We started this in 2019 before people were looking at remote working very differently. We're on the back of a huge change driven by diversity and inclusion across many corporates and multinationals, a change driven by remote work, the growth of AI, and also the rise of the gig economy. So we think we're in the right place at the right time. So from everybody in the Bowsy team, thank you very much. And I'll hand over Chris for questions.
Okay, John, thank you very much indeed. Well done. Yeah, a couple of questions already in. How are you different from Fiverr and Upwork? I think you covered this in a little bit of the thing, but maybe you can just expand on that a little, please, John.
Yeah, okay. I think, well, I mean, the purpose of Fiverr and Upwork is very transactional. They're very much focused on getting a job done at a relatively cheap price. I think Bowsy is much more about that. It's much more about actually looking at your future pipeline and talent and graduate recruitment process. We're also relatively significantly cheaper than what you will see on stuff like Fiverr, etc. And we're only focused on graduates, and we're only focused on, let's say, work that could be performed remotely and is study related. So they won't be students on the Bowsy platform aren't going to be delivering. They're not going to be working in restaurants and bars, etc. It has to be value adding to the student, and it has to be. And the experience so far has been very positive. A lot of the SMEs see this as a big motivation for engaging with Bowsy. Everybody knows a student or a daughter or a cousin who's a graduate, working in kind of traditional retail, etc. So there's a lot of people who are motivated to help the student, and also as well like to look at actually sourcing their future talents through this. And we're putting in metrics into the platform, etc., so that we can help employers measure that. And what we've seen is that there's a high amount of loyalty driven as well. Is that a lot of employers will actually insist on getting the same students, so there's a high amount of repeat business as well, that they'll start engaging with the same student. The last thing I'll say in this is we're also engaging now in project work. So we're developing teamwork that's much broader in scope than a lot of stuff that's done on Fiverr as well.
Great stuff. Can you explain the onboarding process for employees? How do they access employee systems, remote logins, data management, etc.?
Yeah, so first of all of the work that's done is covered over standard kind of NDAs. In some case, the employer will insist on a specific NDA putting in place, and the platform facilitates that. Secondly, most of the work that's done is through kind of secure external servers, AWS, where only the employer and the employee will actually have access to that. In some cases, the employer, pretending, for example, in the case of lead generation and sales, they will give an email and the login details directly to the student. But most of it is done through the platform. And with a limited exception, actually, it's extending beyond the platform where the employer will give them an external email address, etc.
The question of talking about the barriers to entry here, John, and how can you kind of position yourself so it makes it more difficult for others to come and do this similar project, a similar service that you offer? Yeah,
I think that the key thing is building a relationship with the universities, and that's where we've been very successful. We've been working with the Michael Smurford School of Business for nearly 18 months with the Career Centre, also now same with UCC and with the Student Union as well at TCD. So building that relationship. And what we've seen as well is a lot of the universities have given us interns. They understand this isn't about leveraging cheap student labor. It's much more than that. It's helping the students develop. So building that relationship with the universities is very important, and we're mirroring that as well with our approach in the United States as well. So what we found is that the universities are trying to open doors on this, even like the United States. I mentioned the Wharton School of Business as well as Tulane University. They're very keen to use this, and I think one of the things we're going to look over next year, particularly for the US, is how we can incorporate this as part of the college credit system as well. So having that support and connection to the university is going to be key in us differentiating ourselves and presenting barriers to entry as well.
Very good. John, thank you very much indeed. There's a load of other questions here, but we've run out of time, unfortunately. So we'll answer those manually or written format and publish those on the site as well. So thank you very much indeed. And we'll see you again soon. So Jenny, if you'd like to fire your camera up, if you would, please. This is Jenny, CEO of FitPink. She is based up in Donegal and is in charge of an athleisure clothing company. She's had some fantastic sales to date, which she'll go into in a bit more detail in the presentation, and has had a massive 2,000 5-star likes on Google, which is amazing kind of stage to where she's got to. Jenny is an EY Entrepreneur of the Year alumni from back in 2007 with a previous business, and has managed New Frontiers for Enterprise Ireland for the last couple of years as well, and has a background in digital marketing. So there you go. There's a quick summary of Jenny's career and a few highlights. But Jenny, away you go if you can, please, and share your screen.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. So we are FitPink. We are an athleisure brand for women, as Chris mentioned. We're fast growing, we are profitable, and we are raising 300,000 on Spark crowdfunding to really accelerate our growth and help us to hire a very technical marketing team. Sorry. So really what we're about is athleisure wear that women feel really compelled to tell others about because it's that good. We're fast growing, a reputation for exceptional fit, comfort and quality. And really the important part of that is fit. We are finding that feedback from our customer research so far has shown that the biggest complaint women have about athleisure wear is that it doesn't fit properly. So leggings fall down or they don't sit well, t-shirts show sweat, they cling where they shouldn't cling, and this is what we're addressing. So it came about, I'm a runner myself. A number of years ago, I was out running and I had to stop every so often to pull up my leggings. When you're out for a run, you don't want to have to think about your clothing. So I figured I would see if I could do better. I didn't like what the big brands were offering. They were all a very generic product. So the Nikes and Adidas seemed to just create a generic product and hope it works, which it doesn't. So I spent a number of months, about 18 months over and back with suppliers, getting samples, sending them back, iterating, and really tweaking material compositions. And by the end of that process, I had a very basic range of a few products that we launched in July 2019. So the problem is that most athleisure wear or activewear brands are designing their products for an athletic or gym orientated and a younger customer in mind. Clothing designed in that way isn't flattering or supportive to the normal female body of all shapes and sizes. And that's really what we're addressing. Research has shown, again, from our customers that are wearing the product it's really been worn in a wide range of different uses, which we weren't expecting really to start off with. So we know, fitness professionals are purchasing the range, people working from home. We're getting feedback that people working in retail and nurses are wearing our leggings underneath their tunics because of the comfort and the support available. We know for sure that there are 4 physiotherapists in maternity hospitals across Ireland that are actually recommending our compression leggings as a product to wear post-cesarean section because of the comfort and support they offer to the abs area. So there's a wide range of uses, which gives us a huge opportunity to really get a foothold in the market. So the opportunity is vast. The sportswear market is worth about 300 billion annually. It's growing at about between 5 and 10% in the next 5 years. You know, these figures are pre-COVID, so it's not that COVID has accelerated the market. Certainly COVID has helped with our growth. But we're seeing that there's an increasing shift towards digitally native brands such as FitPink, where people are starting to change how they dress and get more comfortable in athleisure wear. A study pre-COVID again had shown that people were, I think 48% of people were starting to wear leggings instead of denim. So there is a big move away from denim, and I think anybody can see that when you're out and about. So the demand for a good fit over brand name and function over fashion is really growing, and that's what we're about. It's a great fit and it's functional rather than faddy fashions. So our solution, this is one of our hero products. It's our seamless compression leggings. All of our leggings and shorts are high-waisted. They're all stretchy, flattering, non-transparent, and they're smoothing. So they're flattering on the female form, and they're inclusive in terms of size. So we go from a size 6 all the way up to a 24. As Chris had mentioned, one of our key, I think, successes to date is our reviews. So we have just over 2,000 reviews on our website. And as you can see from the screenshot there, almost all of them are 5-star. We don't incentivize reviews in any way. We send out an email post-purchase and the reviews come in. I think if you read through them on our website, you'll really see the themes that keep coming up over and over in those reviews in terms of the fit, the exceptional fit, and also the quality of our service. So as a brand, we're about authenticity. We're very natural. You'll never see our range photographed in a gym with a model that's contoured and eyelashed out of her mind. We're about real women, not necessarily models. All the women you see there pictured are customers of the brand. They're all mothers, they all work full time. So it's a brand that women can look at our photography and look at our brand and resonate with it, I suppose, and feel that they can see how the product looks on women that have a similar shape to them. Again, it's about function over fashion. So all of our colors are very timeless, I suppose, and classic. And it's about making sure that the products are moisture wicking, high-waisted, flattering, rather than the latest fad. And we're the opposite of fast fashion. So all our products last several years. I'm still wearing the original samples I would have had a number of years ago, and they're built to last. We support other women through our partnership with Plan Ireland International. We support their Because I Am a Girl campaign. We have done from the very first day we launched, and that's something that will always be part of our core values. So our marketing model that we've been honing, I suppose, and optimizing over the last almost 2 years. People are finding us through social media, through advertising. Word of mouth is a big factor. They're reading our reviews, they're seeing our products on influencers, and again, word of mouth from friends and family. Hopefully they're purchasing. They in turn become loyal customers, where they leave us a review, and 30% of our customers are repeat purchasing. They engage with us on social media, and they're sharing our product, and they become really passionate advocates for the brand. So in 2020, we spent just over 50,000 on marketing. Our return on ad spend was 6.5. The industry average in e-commerce, I think, is between 2% and 4%. So it really shows we've got a very effective marketing campaign, and our activities is working well. We had 5,500 customers last year at a customer acquisition cost of just over €9. The average for e-commerce is about 21. So again, we're able to acquire customers at a sustainable cost, and this is a really good indicator for growth for us in the future. We've got a high lifetime value, and again, that's showing that we're able to attract customers and not just attract them once, but get them to return. We know that 30% of our customers return, and we've benchmarked that against some of the UK industry leaders, where there's about maybe a 14% return rate. So again, that's a key indicator for fast growth and for virality and word of mouth. As mentioned, we have a lot of 5-star reviews, strong social proof, and that all creates a great credibility and confidence in the brand for people. It kind of bridges the gap between not being able to reach them on face to face, and it helps them get over that pre-purchase nerves. So our results so far, 2020 last year was our first full financial year. We did just under $500,000 in revenue. We were able to donate 6,000 to Plan International. We had a 70,000 net profit. We have over 10,000 engaged customers on our database, and that's an important database that we are looking to optimize as we grow. We have healthy margins, and that margin is set to increase as we start buying with volume. And as I said, we have a really sustainable customer acquisition cost, and that's really going to help us grab market share as we grow. Recently, we were accredited with the Athleisure Brand of the Year 21, which is great to have. And we're stocked in several retailers across Ireland. So we are on Derval O'Rourke, the Olympic athletes platform. She was just photographed, I think, this week in Image magazine and Woman's Way, wearing our range. We're in local sportswear retailers here in Donegal, Anthony Ryan's in Galway, Michael Henry's of Balbuffet, and so on. And this is something we look to really grow. There's a big opportunity actually to grow in retail because the global brands such as Nike and Adidas are starting to pursue a more direct-to-consumer strategy where they're pulling back from selling into wholesale, which leaves a gap obviously for retailers. So we're looking to really to grow that out now that we can with lockdown over. So our growth strategy, we're looking to build 4 country-specific websites over the next 2 years, develop out a multi-channel strategy. So we've achieved what we've achieved with our website, with some social media, and a handful of retailers. So we're really excited to see what we can actually achieve once we start really investing in bringing on a technical marketing team that can really deep dive into all of the data that we've been accumulating over the last number of years. So we just want to double down, I suppose, and optimize on what we know works and scale our business as quick as we can. So as I said, last year we did 740,000. This year we're on track to do 1.3 million. Next year, 2.6, 23, 3.9, 24, 5.7, and our ultimate target over the next number of years is to hit 10 million by 2025. So we're looking to raise 300,000 for 12%. We're EIS approved, and as I said, we'll be using the money to build out a technical marketing team of specialist roles and really invest in our brand. So thanks for listening. I think that's me on time.
Fantastic. Well done. Thank you very much indeed, Jenny. Absolutely. Some questions that have come in here, which hopefully we can answer now. So how have you managed to achieve such high levels of sales in a competitive market in such a short time?
Good question. I mean, certainly COVID helped. We really know our customer. We have quite a narrow market focus, so that really enables us to reach those customers effectively. We spend a lot of time producing content that's relevant to that market. Word of mouth has been a massive factor in the business. It's genuinely a good product, and our market is fantastic for wanting to share that with other people when they do find a good product.
Very good. And having advocates like Derval O'Rourke is obviously very helpful as well, which is very
absolutely.
What would you see as the biggest risks to achieving your targets over the next 3 years?
Well, threat of new entrants, and there's no doubt about it. It's a very competitive market. It's only a matter of time before somebody else sees what we're doing and attempts to copy it. That's why I think it's important that we really invest in our brand now, invest in differentiating that brand and really standing out in the market. And that's what we are raising money to do.
Very good. And another question here from, how do you plan to spend the money that you raise?
So we want to build out a marketing team of specialist roles. So marketing, 5 years ago, you would have had a digital marketing manager who would have done a little bit of everything. The most effective marketing teams that we've seen are the ones that specialize in each area digitally, and that's what we're looking to build out. So again, we know what works now. We need help to optimize the data that we have and optimize what works and push it out further.
Very good. You mentioned the opposite of fast fashion. Does this not impact on repeat purchases, and how do you expect to get over that?
So we have 43 pieces in our range at the moment. We started with, I think, 5 pieces in late 2019. So they're coming back. They're buying. Typically, the first purchase is a pair of leggings. The second purchase is the same leggings in a different color. The third purchase is our other style of leggings. The next purchases are active t-shirts that are moisture wicking. So we have a range. So yes, it's to get them back to buy the range that's working for us.
And how do you expect to expand that range then over time?
We are looking at, we don't want to have hundreds of SKUs on the website. It's really about producing high quality products that have a great function. We have a core collection that we will always keep, and we'll probably update it ever so slightly over the years. And then we bring out a small number of pieces in spring, summer and autumn, winter. So twice a year we'll bring out a sort of a refresh and new t-shirts and things like that for that season.
And what does your geographical spread, what's that going to look like in 2 or 3 years time from now? Where do you think the bulk of your revenues are going to be coming from?
So currently, obviously, it's 80% from Ireland, and we would expect to see that reduce over the next coming years as we start to scale internationally. So we're already getting quite a few sales from Europe, Germany, France, Italy, and we really look to expand on that. So I would say the Irish market for us will become smaller over the next few years, or a smaller proportion, I suppose, of our overall sales as we scale internationally.
Very good, very good. There's loads more questions coming in here as well, Jenny, but we're going to have to wrap it at that point, I'm afraid. Yeah, there is. We promised people would be switching off by 2 o'clock. So thank you very much indeed. That was an excellent presentation, and you'll be going onto the platform in the next week or so. And of course, we'll be letting everybody know that by email when you are live. So we look forward to seeing you live on the site. So I think that probably wraps up everything for today. Thank you very much for all the contributors. So thanks very much for John. Thank you very much for Charlie as well. The site is open. John and Charlie are still up there. Tasenda is still up there. And we're going to have some exciting news for new additions to the site as the days go by. So please, by all means, give us a call or drop us a line if you've got any questions about various aspects. Next week we'll be having another webinar and talking about the SAFE investment, which is the simple agreement for future equity, and it's something that you're going to be seeing more and more of. It's something that is really being expanded from the US, which is where it started. The NDRC are using SAFE notes all the time now, so it's something that we're going to be embracing a bit, and we're going to be doing a webinar just about SAFEs as well. So that'll be next week, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about that. So thank you very much all for your attending today. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully see you again soon. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.